So when you first open FL Studio, it might look really overwhelming because there's a lot going on the screen right now. For example, you can see the playlist, the arrangement of all the tracks and patterns that you'll make. There's the channel rack, the mixer, all this stuff going on the top. But to start off with very basic navigation, the browser on the left side is the most important bit to start off with. You can access instruments, plugins, old projects right here, for example, presets for mixers and channels and plugins, which will be a bit more complex and isn't something that's going to get covered in this video. But for the most part, a lot of this stuff comes after the fact, after you've actually dragged in the instruments and the patterns and made your songs. You mess with the mixers and the channels and whatnot. The most basic and important folder in here is going to be the packs folder, which if you expand it, it gives you instruments, several different things. You got basses, all of this stuff that you can just drag in to the channel rack and mess with. It'll open a sampler, and essentially you can hear it from there, but there's a lot of different instruments that you can sort of drag into this, and it'll open an acoustic sort of channel for you to mess with different sounds when it comes to those instruments. There's also a lot of different like loops for drum patterns that you can put in if you are more focused on actual instrumentation and just want to put something behind that and don't want to make your own drums. There's several that FL Studio already offers. Several other things like shapes, I guess, for sounds, vocals, vocal samples, if you want to use any of that. But the most important thing that you can work with here is drums. All of this stuff here comes with, except for the drum packs folder, which is something I actually made myself. On the internet, you can look up, there are several free, royalty-free, or ones that you can pay for drum kits that you can use. For example, Cymatics is an excellent website that has all of these sort of free drum packs that you can always download. But essentially, all of the instruments in here are sort of good enough as a baseline for you to get familiarized with all the different instruments that get used throughout production. And of course, you can always hook up a MIDI if you use like guitar or piano. But if there comes a time where you want to start experimenting with different drums that you've maybe heard from a drum kit that you want to buy, or different sounds that you've heard in free drum kits that you just download, the way you incorporate them into the browser right here is you can just go to drums, right click, and under system it goes open, and what you see here is all of the folders that were in here already. But essentially what I had done was I made a new folder. You can still see it on my desktop right here, called drum packs, and you essentially just put in whatever you want into there. Several folders that when you download, usually they just show up as a folder, and it's got several different wave files, or it has different folders inside the folders. Usually that's very common. But essentially you take whatever folders you want with whatever drum kits or samples that you want, and you drag them into this folder, and it gets put into here. For example, here I will just show how I did it. If I take something from here and I wanted to put it just into this folder, I already have this in here, but I would essentially just take what I've downloaded, drag it in, and it says, yeah, there's already something's already in here essentially, but basically you wouldn't have it in there yet. So that's essentially how you would organize putting the drum packs into the system. And as soon as you do that, it should show up in a folder like this. Any folder that you put into here should show up. So that's essentially the introduction to the browser role and sort of the most basics coming from the packs and all the instruments that you can access from there.